Okay, guys, thank you very much. We're right on time and I appreciate that. We have a question already waiting. It comes from Martha for you, Joe and Isabel, regarding the person's environment. What's your opinion on someone interviewing from their car?
So I have mixed feelings about this. If it's an interview with a recruiter, I'm a little more flexible on it. A lot of times when I'm interviewing somebody, and I only work with healthcare IT professionals, so a lot of times it's people that's the only privacy they can get, rather than being in the bathroom. I'd prefer it from the car rather than the bathroom. But that's, if you can avoid it, that would be great. If it's unavoidable, I think you need to address it, on that interview with the hiring manager, whether it's you're in between shifts, or you're getting ready to go in to a shift, or whatever the situation is. It's definitely something that you need to address. Don't just pop up in your car and kind of ignore it. Definitely bring it up.
Right. I think you're spot on. Joe, you may have a comment too, but address it right up front. Say, guys, this was my only private place I could be where, distractions are limited. I apologize, I'm in my car. It may sound like I'm in my car, but I promise I'm not driving, and I'm excited to talk with you today. If you just acknowledge it up front and share that this was the only place you could be, I think most people will be forgiving of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would add is if there's anything you can do while you're in your car, maybe to steady your camera. I think one of the things that can be a little distracting is if somebody's doing that and they're holding their phone and it's going all over the place. If you can maybe put it on a mount or position it on your car somewhere so that it's at least a steady camera angle, I don't think that's too bad. But I agree with Tripp and Isabel on if you can avoid it, try to do so, but we understand.
Right. It's a mobile society today, so we get that. We have a couple more questions, guys. I'm not sure if you can see them, but I'll read them out loud. How do I answer when somebody's asked me for my salary range? I don't want to price myself out of the bat right off the bat, but I don't want to come in too low either. How do I handle that?
So when it comes to salary, like we mentioned, don't bring it up in the interview. However, when the time is come and you're asked, always give a range, from the lowest that you are willing to go, and to the highest. Obviously, if we could all be making $6 million, that would be great, but you don't want to say I'm looking for 120 to 6 million. So be real, do research. There's tons of information online about what you should be making based on your qualifications and everything. A lot of times, if you're working with a recruiter, they can help you. Be honest. You can say what you're making currently, and why you think you deserve more. Anything like that helps. Most of the times with hospitals and healthcare systems, they're working with specific budgets. So if you're working with a recruiter or HR, you can always ask them what's the budget or what's the budget range. A lot of times there's rate cards that kind of address that, so that they can help you with that.
I would add a few things here. So I always, to build on Isabel's point around, if you can network a little bit, if it's a job that is maybe a pivot or something that you don't know as well from the salary ranges, try to speak with somebody who's in the role, tell them your experience, tell them what do you think is the right range. That way you have a little bit of market intel going into the interview, so that you know you're not either way too low or way too high. And then what I always tell people is a little bit of a different methodology from the range is to say, what do you need versus what do you want? So with that, go in, ask for what you want, but then have that number, right? The need is going to be that low end. And if they come back and say, oh yeah, hey, we can make that work, then great, you're going to get what you want. But if they can't, then you at least know, all right, is it above what I need? Yes, let's move forward. If not, going to disqualify that position.
Mm-hmm. And always just, if you're asked for a range off the bat, always say, I like to suggest this, always say that you're flexible or willing to negotiate. You never know if they can come back in and do a sign-on bonus for what you need, anything like that.
Good. Always a sticky topic. And it's, in my experience, it's not that common that you get asked that question on an interview, but it can happen. Certainly in a team interview, that usually doesn't happen. But if it's just the manager and you having a conversation, then that's the time you can talk money. I have another question that's popped up, and here it is. The interview went really well. We had a great conversation with great rapport, and they said that we'd be back in touch next week. I never heard from them again. My outreach went unanswered. What happened?
A lot of different things. So anything from the position went on hold to the position was filled, you weren't the right fit, or they could simply be, they could potentially circle back to you. I would continue following up. The more engaged you say, the more it shows that you're serious about the position, you're excited, and you're on top of it. I think Joe said it perfectly earlier, but I would continue to reach out, try not to get frustrated. Once again, everyone is very busy these days, and things happen, life gets in the way. Maybe something personal was going on, maybe they're out, stuff like that. Get creative with the ways that you reach out. If you've been communicating via email, pick up the phone and try to call them. Potentially get on LinkedIn. Maybe they left the company, look at who else is on that team or aligned in HR, something like that. You can always reach out to HR and inquire more.
Yep. So just to build on that, the unfortunate reality of our digital age is that ghosting has become a commonplace practice. And I can't tell you how many candidates we have had that thought the interview went great. They thought they were about to get an offer, and then we just never hear back from the client, right? And not to say that that's what's happening in this case, but there is a possibility. So, they gave you the timeline of a week. I think if you're following up, you're being prompt, you're being prudent about that and staying on top of it. You don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket with just that opportunity. You want to be continuing to explore other routes. If they come back to you, hey, great, that's still in the mix, but you don't want that to be the only job in your pipeline, because there is a chance that, they filled it, that recruiter, that hiring manager on to the next thing, and unfortunately you got lost in the fold. But I think with the way through compliance departments and companies not wanting to get in trouble from a legal standpoint, oftentimes a lot of clients that I have seen will not actually give feedback if somebody doesn't get it, because they don't want any repercussions there. So just know that sometimes you might not hear back if they do not move forward with you there.
The other, just to add on one more thing to that, the other thing is in those follow-ups, make sure you're staying cool, calm, and collected. Don't get hostile. Joe and I have both said this several times on the call, but you don't know who knows who. You never want to badmouth anybody or be unprofessional in any way. It could come back to bite you later on, or it can leave a bad taste in people's mouth, and especially in healthcare, people are pretty intertwined. So just be aware of that.
It's a small world. Exactly. If you do have a question, we're actually reading the questions from the Q&A section. So if you wanted to ask a question and can't unmute, then go ahead and type a question in the Q&A. While we have only about 5 more minutes left in this session, I did want to make a couple quick comments, and I'll look and see if anybody else has any more questions. We were considering doing this, I think, Isabel, you mentioned at the top, as part of a series. So the other topics that we wanted to include in the series, along with this one, the virtual interviewing, is really the manager's point of view. What is the manager looking at, and how do they approach an interview scenario? That's an interesting way to look at this, just from a different lens. And then the other part of the series that we were interested in sharing is really resume writing and the whole concept of personal branding. How do you write your resume today that's attractive, that's going to get attention? And how do you do that in today's social media environment? Where do you go to let people know that you're looking for an opportunity, and how do you handle that? So those are the things that we're considering doing as part of the series. Please let us know if that's something that you're interested in. I believe we can send out a survey, and we're going to do that for you who's joined us today. And that way we have some sense on whether or not you'd like to hear on those other topics. And certainly suggest a topic if you want to hear that as well. So we have access to a whole host of experts who can talk about a range of topics. And we really appreciate Joe and Isabel sharing their knowledge and expertise today, because they are in the business. They interview people every day. They interview hundreds of people a month and help people get good jobs. So I don't see any further questions, guys. We can start wrapping this up. If I'll leave the door open if you want to have any closing comments, you two.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, for listening to us speak for an hour. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, and happy to help.
Absolutely. Yep. Always happy to connect on LinkedIn. And if we can be sounding boards, we're always happy to do so, and wish you the best of luck on your next virtual interview.
Absolutely. Thank you both very much. And thank you for joining us today. Those in the audience, we really appreciate your participation and just engagement. This call has been recorded, so if you want to refer back to it and replay it, you can certainly do that. It's replayable for those who've registered. So you have to have registered for the webinar today in order to go back and look at it. So thank you again very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and continue to support North Carolina HIMSS. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.